Hey, welcome to Real Talk, episode 112. I'm Todd, this is AJ, and we're back.
Hey-oh!
All right, so we are here for your guys' amusement, entertainment, and by good golly, we hope that it gets you thinking.
You're going to learn today.
Yeah, hopefully. So what's Real Talk? You already know, but just in case your first time, Real Talk's an opportunity to talk about life, God, the Bible with us, two random guys.
That's right. Complete randos.
Yeah, and we hope that it inspires you guys to have these kinds of discussions with your friends. So,
right.
Friends, family, whatever, you need them. We need each other, man. We live in a world and a time when we are separated. When our community comes from a social network in which we're not really having community, but only interacting with the simulation that we're given.
That's right. Are you part of the simulation, or are you going to break the cycle?
Anyway,
free yourself.
So yeah, all that aside, we've lost every new viewer. They're like, what is this? So yeah, guys, what's cool about Real Talk is you get an opportunity to interact with us anonymously. There's a link somewhere in the description of this video, www.theremnant.life/real. That's REAL -talk. So www.theremnant.life/real-talk. You could go right now, click it, go down to submit a question. Tippity tap your question or topic or thought in there, hit submit, and it goes into our database completely anonymously. Couldn't find you if we tried.
And we have.
Yeah, because sometimes people are rude.
My favorite all-time plug into checking something out online is P90X, Tony Horton at the end of Plyometrics. The way he does his keyboard sound is incredible. I can't do it. The way he does it, it's incredible. Yeah. I don't know how he does it.
I'm about to do that tonight again. I'm getting back on the train, I told you.
Oh, gosh.
You're guilting yourself right now. I haven't even said anything.
I know.
I think you should?
Reminded me.
Were we more fit when we were older?
We were.
COVID was really good for us as far as fitness because being separated from the world with nothing to do except spend time with Tony Horton and P90X.
Except only
Am I wrong?
Tony Horton. That's true.
All right. So anyway,
I'll just bump this. I'm sorry, guys.
That's the gist of it, guys. So that's what Real Talk is, and we've got some questions today already queued up, and we're gonna get into those. In the meantime, I'm kind of catch you up on our lives, if we have anything.
Yeah.
Discuss sort of the direction. You know, if you're a longtime Real Talk listener, viewer, because we are both video and audio.
That's right.
Podcast format and video format on YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, etc. We are trying to decide, and I know if you're a long-term listener, you've heard us say this. Well, it's true, man. You know, whether or not, I even read, weirdly, wasn't looking for this, a quote from Elon Musk, okay? I'm not saying morally he's a guy to look to.
Right.
Pretty successful guy, Pretty successful guy, intelligent guy. And essentially, he kind of put into words why I think we talk about this a lot. He said, don't fool yourself into thinking something's working when it's not, because then you're focusing on a bad solution. Which is pretty deep, right?
It is.
So for us,
Elon.
Huh?
It's an old
yeah.
Elon.
So for us here on Real Talk, you know, one of the things we're constantly asking ourselves is, are we using our time, energy, effort toward the things that are making the most impact and for people and for the kingdom, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we're at. It's not our egos. It's not that we want people to go, no, we love you. We have to decide. We have a lot going on. You know, for a church our size, we are trying to do a lot of things.
We are.
And I think some of that, actually, we're trying to do a lot of things no matter what size church you are, I think. I think
probably right, actually.
Yeah, because Real Talk's sponsored by the Remnant Church here in Indiana.
Yes.
You know, we have to decide what's a good use of our time.
It's true. You know,
right?
When there's so many things all up in the air at once, you know, it's hard to, that in itself is hard to find a balance in, you know, trying to figure out, hey, you know, what has priority over what or what, you know, whatever. But, you know, and then you start involving, you know, different aspects of these things. You're right. It does take a lot of effort. And, like, you know, is it worth doing? You know, I know right off the bat, I could say, I don't know. Because, you know, views are down compared to what they were.
At least on the web series and the pod. Well, we don't. I don't know about podcasts. I haven't asked you about
podcast has been down compared to what it used to be.
So it's all down.
All of it.
So that leads us to, like, you know, what are we doing?
That's right.
You know, are we taking away from other places in our church and our mission? Even Real Talks, right? I don't think we're ever going to stop using social media and media to reach people.
Absolutely not.
I'm really proud of the way that we've kind of, at least in our area. I know a lot of churches do it and do it really, really well.
Absolutely.
Do it even better. But I
Oh,
think
yeah.
we're pretty good
Yeah,
at
man.
making use of that.
I think from where we've started and where we're at now, man, I think we've made a lot of growth, and I think it's awesome. And like you said, I don't think the presence of social media through this church will ever go away.
Sure.
It's more, should we focus on something else? I think that's the question.
So, you guys that are listening, we're asking for feedback. So whether you're a brand new listener, we've had some people on YouTube, for instance, give us thoughts, really encouraging. I still don't know who the person was, but that
was
person a
cool.
few weeks ago. Ironic that we're talking about this when they're like, keep doing it,
Yeah.
But the person did say, listen, real talk. I think they even said that,
They
views
did.
are not where they should be. And that's the truth, man. So, I guess if you guys are listening, watching, you're long-time listener, we need feedback. We need to know. And you've given us feedback on format, but, we need to make some decisions. Also, budget-wise.
Yeah.
I heard someone a couple weeks ago, made a joke on Real Talk Live, and it's true, though. They said, yeah, as soon as you guys mentioned giving or donating, you lost viewers. And here's the reality. We cannot continue to pour resources into something
Right.
that may not be reaching as many people. And, we definitely reach people. I know that. Those of you watching, you matter to us.
Absolutely, you matter.
And you mean a lot to us. But particularly the fact that there are people that don't go to our church that are long-term listeners, I think, who regardless still don't feel motivated enough or encouraged enough or inspired enough or whatever you want to call it. They don't get enough out of it to want to partner with us even financially a little bit. And I know that's awkward to talk about. Anyone that knows me, I think you guys, I don't like it.
No.
But that's reality. And, we've tried different ways to appeal or try to get people to say, you know what, $5 a month even, from outside, we're in a different state or a different church, but we believe in what you guys are doing, and
right.
we want to support that, because that's the realistic thing too. Is like we have a responsibility to our church to not take a lot of resources from that. You know what I mean?
Man. You're right. And I think we, honestly, we owe it to Christ to maximize what we can.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, when it comes to a show like this, I think it's been awesome. And, it's funny, when I think about even like TV, for example, like you think of like the idea of a TV show, right? Or like just a show in general, reality show, however you want to look at it, those things come to an end eventually, right? Because they realize we've maximized what we can do with it, and so I go, have we maximized it? I don't know.
Yeah. Has it fulfilled its role?
Exactly.
Right?
We don't know.
We've done what we needed to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's time to move forward and look at something different. That's possible.
Exactly.
And that's not a sad thing. That would be a celebration, right? We did the mission that we were kind of called to do. It met the needs it was called to meet for the people it was called to meet it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of why it's, ready.
Right.
So we have a lot of other ideas. I still love the idea of us maybe this becomes a thing where we literally go out with documents people sign saying we can, and we interview people on the street. And have real talk there.
It'd be cool.
I don't know. But, if you guys love this show, we need some feedback. We need to know, hey, even if it's just like, hey, keep going. I don't comment much, but I'm a listener.
That's right.
Those kinds of things help us to know people are still watching. We have the metrics we can see.
Right.
Like, to a degree.
Yes,
But,
to a degree.
but those numbers don't tell us impact.
Absolutely.
So,
not.
it's not just the numbers, but we want to make sure that it's benefiting you guys that are listening and watching.
That's right.
And not just us, having a good time or whatever. The other thing is it takes a lot of time. A lot of our time, for instance, your time.
Yeah.
Fun Turn's time. That's a lot of time. And time is money in the world, but time is equity, right? It means something.
That's right.
So, if you're outside the church, you're just some other state or city or whatever, and this benefits you. Gosh, man, we really want to hear from you too, and consider partnering with us financially, even $5. Guys, listen, I'm just going to be real.
Yeah.
I'm not rich. AJ's not rich. This church isn't rich. We're not trying to buy Lamborghinis. Before I was a Christian, I was automatically suspicious of anyone asking for money.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just being realistic with you. We need that.
Yes.
We need that partnership. So if you're out there, there's a lot of people within our church that donate to Real Talk on top of their offering.
Pretty
you
cool.
guys, that's why I don't talk. It's so amazing what you do.
Absolutely.
But
a
man,
blessing.
some of you out there that aren't, man, we would love if it means something to you. Consider even $5 a month or
Mm-hmm.
something that goes towards that. So even as I say that,
Absolutely.
I'm like, well, someone got mad, but
It is
that's
what it is,
reality.
man. Like you said, like when it comes to like just pure reality, we're not a mega church. We're not bringing in thousands of dollars. We're not. And when we're doing, like you said,
Hundreds of
we're
thousands or anything like that.
right.
Yeah,
We're not. And like
we're not like closing, but
right, exactly. Like, you know, but like I said, like we're not a mega church, and like that, I think it's hard for people to understand that,
Yeah.
or even like the fact that we're a non-denominational church. So like you
you
don't
don't get denominational support.
exactly. There's
Yeah.
no fundage from that either. So like this is everything we do as a church, not even just real talk. Everything is based upon giving of any kind, right?
Sure, and it's tax deductible and all that stuff, so it's legit.
Yeah,
And we're not trying to talk about money because it's not just money, right?
right.
We could be getting a ton of money and still, if we feel like impact's not there, so it's just kind of both things that we're sort of wrestling through us behind the scenes
Right.
of what's the best use of our time and our resources for us and for the church and for you guys, right? We don't want to
Exactly.
waste your time. We don't want to waste our time.
That's good. Good way to put it.
It's kind of where we're at, guys. So consider giving some input. Now today, if you're listening to this, like we need it.
Yes.
So www.theremnant.life/real-talk. Thoughts, concerns. Let us know where you're from.
That'd be
Love
nice.
to hear. Hey, I'm listening from Ohio or Washington or whatever. We'd love to hear that because I know we've gotten views from this.
That's right.
It's just whether or not those people are listening regularly. I don't know.
It's hard telling, right?
Also, giving us reviews on your podcast format. So a lot of you listen to us on podcasts now. So let's say it's Apple Podcast or any of those.
Spotify, whatever.
I don't know if you can do it on Spotify.
That's so weird.
I don't think you can, which is so weird. But you can share links on Spotify. So like taking your Spotify link and sharing it on your social media platforms is another way to help us, support us. I've done that for word of mouth. I definitely have had podcasts that I suggest to people that are awesome to listen to benefit you. So,
No sleep podcast.
yeah, and Art of Manliness. There's a lot of cool ones that I've listened to. So yeah, just consider that, guys. We need to. If not, no big deal. It's not like we're gonna be mad at you, but we're gonna be making those decisions on our own then, and like very seriously, because
That's
we've
right.
got a lot going on.
Yeah. It's good.
So anyway,
I got nothing else to add on that. It's good.
any thoughts you want to share about yourself before we move
Um, life is always in some sort of transition, it feels like. I say that, in a time where there is kind of a transition happening, where like, going from one place to another. And like, it's interesting, man. I think that one thing I know I don't want to do, and I can say this with 100% confidence, is that I never ever want to, and I think I brought this up on Real Talk before, bro, and I feel like I want to bring it up again. Is I never ever want to feel like I'm playing a character on a TV show
for
on
this or
yes,
in life.
both.
Okay.
I never want to feel like I'm playing a character in one place. And like I want to be me all the time, no matter what. Whether that is, in life, not with a camera on me, or if it's with a camera on me. I want to be who I am. And I think sometimes I don't evaluate that. And so then I think, and I'm not saying I am playing a character, because I don't think, you could probably attest to this. I feel like I'm not playing a character, but I think it's healthy to remember to check yourself. Because I want to be the same person I am here than I am not with a camera on. And I guess, which is funny, because you guys are probably thinking, oh, it's flipped. He's probably like, he's probably like a whole different person.
He's not.
Like he's a whole different person behind the scenes. It's actually the opposite. I struggle to talk to people. And I'm on a show where I talk about my life and talk about God every week. So it's actually the opposite. I feel like I do a better job of talking here in front of you guys than I do behind the scenes without a camera on. And so the reason why I bring that up is because I think, like I said, we're always transitioning in life, it feels like. It feels like there's always one chapter is being written into another one. One page is turning into another one. And so I think that one thing that's always remained consistent for me as far as a struggle is being able to invest in conversations with people that have meaning. And I'm not saying that I can't do it, but I'm saying like it's a struggle. I think for some reason, that's something that over the years, because when I used to do it, when I wasn't a Christian, it was still for me. It was selfish. So it was easier to do because it was still about me. Even if I didn't consciously think that, when I look back, I can go, that was selfish. Because I was going, well, I was making myself feel better about myself because I'm listening to people and I'm giving them advice. Yeah. And, I'm there for them, quotes. That's in air quotes, there for them, and I wasn't really. And so now that I'm a Christian, and I have been for, a few years now, I think that's something that never has fully hit me. I don't think. And it's tough because I go, I'm not saying I'm a bad person, but I am certainly not as good as I thought I was. And so when you live your life all those years, 20 plus years of how you lived to the few years you're trying to live now as a Christian, for me personally, I think that's hard for me to deal with because I go, man, I have grown, but there's so much to grow in still. And, that journey is far from over. And I think that from based upon where I am now, that's something that I do want to get better at. But if when I'm in my head, it feels like I won't get there because the only reason why I was good at it then is because it was about me and it was selfish. It was about, making myself feel better. So how do I take that and put that into how I do it now, right? So I think that, that's something that I have to evaluate, and that's just something that's been on my mind, because we had a good conversation earlier that was really eye-opening, and I think that, this is not only for me but anybody else listening, I suppose. If you find yourself not investing in people as well as you could, you need to really ask yourself why. Are you actually giving effort to see people and love people? Are you really doing that? So that's just something that's been on my mind. How well am I doing that? And if I'm not, which I try my best to give myself grace, but I don't think I am right now. I have to evaluate why that is and actually talk about that. Because this is real talk. This is what this show is all about. And I think a lot of the time I don't want to just play a character. I want to actually be who I am. So that's something I've thought about. But other than that, man, I'm blessed, man. Whenever I actually manage to take a step back and look at where I am in life, I go, dude, I would have never thought I'd be here, and that is always so sobering, and it's so, it makes me want to cry because I go, dude, I was not supposed to be here. I was not supposed to be in a position I am. I'm not supposed to be in a place where people, have the respect for me they do. I wasn't. I was just a guy who was just kind of wasting away. And I think I forget that. And I think that's just because of all those years of living the way I do. I still see myself in that light. So even though people give me that respect that I often don't even recognize or I don't even think about, it's because I think it's still catching up. It's like what you always say, your outside's trying to catch up with the inside, because I am changed. But we have to make conscious efforts to, despite knowing that your outside's trying to catch up, you can't just let it sit. You have to continue to push yourself to believe, because your insides change when you're a Christian, but you have to believe that your outside's going to catch up.
Yeah, and you got to make those choices
Exactly.
to be different, right? Because now
Yes.
you're empowered and enabled to.
Right, because just because your heart is changed on the inside because you believe in Jesus Christ now, you can't just sit there and believe that you're still who you used to be. Because then, what has really changed? Your heart might have changed, but are you really showing that? And then even then, did you actually get saved then? Because I think you're going to transform. You're going to be different, and I think that's something I've been thinking about, and I understand people going through, tough phases in life, but, me personally, when I'm talking about my life and who I am, I think a lot of the time you just got to believe in who you are and who God says you are. And that's something I struggle with. So.
Yeah, and it's got to be a conscious choice to do that because
Exactly.
It's too easy to. So I'm with you. I like what you said. I got to focus on who I really am and choose to live out of that because it's so easy to get on autopilot. And when you're on autopilot, you get comfortable, one, doing the bare minimum, and two, you even get comfortable kind of just accepting, well, this is just what I am.
Yes.
And
you get there, and it's like a shell, dude. It's weird. It's like for example, using me, because, talking about my life, I can just wake up and just like life and not even talk.
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
like do the things do the things that I feel like I need to do, or like do the things that I'm or at least try to do the things I'm told to do, because I can struggle with that. But like, and then before you know it, the day's over. And I think I've told you this. Like, I think that's why time messes with me so bad, because I go, man, like it's crazy to think that like the shell of who I think I am, like, can just like come over you as soon as you wake up, and before you know it, it's the next day, and you're like, what happened?
Mm.
It's creepy. So like, I don't know, man. I guess it's making a conscious effort every day to be different. Be different. And when I say be different, I think people feel this pressure to have to be like a 180 completely different person. Man, like, challenge yourself. Like, even if it's the small things, like, just look like being willing to be open to challenging yourself on something every day. Because if you're not, man,
What is life?
exactly, what is life, and what, like, if you give that other side of you, that lazy side, or like that sinful side of you, if you give it an inch, just like how God, it's the other way, it's on the other side of the spectrum. If you give God an inch of faithfulness, he runs he takes it and runs a mile. Same with the enemy. I feel like if you give an inch to the enemy, he'll do everything he can to make you go the mile in the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why it's so important, to push yourself. And that's just something that, me personally, I find myself not doing a whole lot, and I have to get better at that. So, sorry to ramble, but just trying to think out loud and process through stuff. So,
So, if you had to put it in a sentence,
yeah,
one sentence, what are you processing?
I am processing. I am processing why I don't live out the way that I claim I should.
And what's the purpose of finding out why?
Because if I find out why, I can change it, and I can change it, and I can make a conscious effort to be who I'm called to be, and be who God says I am.
Yeah, and the reason I ask that is I think it's a really good point. I think a lot of people stop there, especially nowadays. I think our generation, me, millennials, and below,
Mm-hmm.
more so, which isn't a bad thing. Okay, what I'm about to say, but is we're very interested in finding out the why. Why do I feel this way? Why do I act this way? What's the quote trauma or whatever else,
Yeah.
which I think is fine. But we were kind of talking about right before we got on the difference between, like what you said. I'm not trying to make an excuse, right? And I was like trying to explain to you that giving a reason isn't an excuse. And I think what I just asked you shows the difference between an excuse and a processing reason.
Yeah.
An excuse would be I'm going to find out why and use that to justify why I'm never going to change.
Yeah.
Versus I'm going to find out why, so it helps me in the direction to change. Right? Does that make sense?
Yep. I'm with you.
So it's the difference between saying, let me give an example. Okay, this guy's got a limp. Okay, so the guy goes, I have a limp because there's a knife in my leg and I'm just really hurt. Versus that's an excuse. Okay, I'm using an example of a knife in the leg.
Mm-hmm.
Versus I'm limping because there's a knife in the leg. I'm going to pull the knife out now and I'm going to wrap it so that it heals and maybe I won't limp.
I
Make
got you.
sense?
Yep.
So I think that's really good for you to share that, and also share how you're processing to get somewhere, which is big, man.
It is big, because I think that's something I've struggled with a lot of my life. I think I a lot of the time, like I said, I think I hit that wall. I hit that wall of like, well, there's the why, but that's all it is. And there's, I think a lot of the time I find myself not giving myself reasons to want, like why you want to get past that. It's like my mind usually doesn't go there. So it's good. It's good because it shows me that like I do care, and like I want to be better, and like I love Jesus, and I want people to know that I love Jesus, and I want people to know Jesus. And I think that when you don't think that way every day, you're not going to do it. Because you have every reason in the world, to the world standards, to not. So I have to be mindful of that, truly mindful. And I think that we as Christians, including myself, take that lightly, and we shouldn't.
That's cool, man.
Yes. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. appreciate you listening because I know that was a lot.
No, I think it's good for people to hear and process. And I think a lot of people, when they let themselves, if they let themselves, would think the same thing. A lot of times we're just, the scary thing about autopilot is each of us has our version, and it can typically work in life. So then there isn't really a motivation to stop being on autopilot unless you realize that time is valuable. You're running out of it. Is the autopilot, what meaning I'm just going through the motions, really life? You know, so I don't know. It's interesting stuff.
Yeah, man. How about you? How are you doing?
I've realized. Okay, well, part of this is going to sound whiny, but if we're going to really try to be real like we used to, I will share this. So I've realized that I don't have, this is going to sound so whiny, so I'm really struggling to even say it. I don't have anyone in my life. I should say that. My heart, it doesn't seem on the surface. I think I'm really lately recognizing how much it's impacted me that I don't have a family that I'm close with or a support system to rely on. And that's affected me a lot. It's affected me in my relationships. It's affected me, I think, emotionally in like even processing. Because I think there are areas, I always feel like I'm pretty good at processing my emotions and thinking through things, or at least I used to be. And I think lately there's areas that I don't let myself even feel because there's no point. Like, there's no point in feeling sad because no one's going to care, so you just got to take care of business. This is going to sound weird, man. At the end of the day, I see people with close families, and they have this kind of security that comes from, no matter how old you are, you can call your dad, your mom, whatever, brother, sister, and there's someone who like loves you for you and not for what you do and who you are, or like not for what you do and your role, but for who you are. And like I know my mom loves me, okay? So I don't want to ever sound like for at least my mom, but I don't have my family it's pretty broken, and I think they would be okay with me saying that. And it's sad, man, and some of them I've had to cut relationships with because it's not healthy, it's not productive, it's not beneficial. And that's sad. And I've come to a place lately, I don't even know if I've told you this, where I've really accepted that. I think as you're young, you always think that, well, it'll get fixed. Like, eventually it's going to get fixed.
You're so right, dude.
Right? It'll eventually everything will be back to normal and we'll be close. But like, sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes you don't ever get close. Sometimes you never have those relationships again. And there's nothing you can do about it. And so you have to grieve that. And I think I'm in the process lately in my stage of life where I'm kind of, but I'm in a different stage of life now, and I'm recognizing that. And for so many years of my life, I'm very thankful because it made me tough. I'm on my own, and I got to figure it out. And I do think it. But man, what did I lose? Like, I'm almost about to tear up, man, because I don't talk about this stuff a lot. But like, what did I lose in becoming hard and becoming like I can grieve for other people so much, man. I have so much empathy. And I think a lot of that comes because I can put my lack of empathy for myself and my own situation, and I can at least say, well, I can help you not have to hurt, or I can help you not have to feel lonely, or I can make sure that I'm going to check on you because I know what it's like to not be checked on. And I don't do that all the time, but man, I think there's a lot of hurt inside of me that I probably haven't processed. And it's funny that no matter how old you are, you're a relationship with a father and not a father, or that kind of stuff, man, like it hurts you.
Yeah.
And sometimes this is me being really transparent, dude. Sometimes I feel like a boy in an Iron Man suit. Like, I'm Iron Man most of the time, right? I just do what I'm supposed to do. God's like, it sounds so awkward, but like made me a leader, or like, you're so bold, Todd, and all these things. And it's like, yeah, man, I can do that when I am the Iron. But inside, there's still still a boy, a part of me that's like had to deal with that. To man, it's so funny to say this as an adult because people had it far worse than me, but I've learned to be Iron Man really early. And what did I lose? What did I lose in becoming that? And like you can't get that back. You know, like there's parts that I'm not gonna ever get back.
You're right. It's tough, man.
And I think that it's hitting me how much I've allowed that to put walls between me and people.
It's like a callus.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it, actually.
Yeah.
I wrote a. It sounds so stupid, dude. I feel like I'm like being way too. See, I struggle with it too. I struggle to do what I encourage you guys to do.
Yeah.
Because even though I can say, dude, tell me I care, I think you don't care.
Right? Vulnerability is weird.
So what's the point? Right? I'm always going to, but it doesn't matter. I wrote a poem once, and it's called Forged. And I wrote it, and that's how I feel, man. I feel like I got forged into something, and I can't go back to being what I was before that. And God is so good that he uses that for the kingdom. But sometimes I grieve what I had to lose to become what I am. That sounds so crazy, probably.
No, man. I think that's something.
I don't know why that's making me emotional, but it is, right? Which is awkward for me because anyone that knows me knows I hate crying. So what's the freaking point, right? Like that's that lie in my head.
Yeah.
Like I could cry for you all day long, but I could cry for myself feel so weak.
Dude, I feel that. You're like an empath except for yourself. Yeah.
So that's probably a TMI for a lot of you, and but that's really where I've been. And dude, it's crazy because there are these parts of me that I lost in being forged, right, into this thing. And it's so good that God can let me be used, and maybe that's what had to happen. But but it's hard, you know, and it's hard, man. It's hard that I have had to figure so many things out in life. First person in my family, I have some great aunts, but like to be a believer. I'm the oldest son, so that comes with responsibilities too, right? But on top of that, I'm the only believer, and it's like I love my parents so much, but my parents are very much my family. I don't know. I feel like I'm whining. We all have our thing, but they're pretty tough too, and stuff happened, and I don't know, man. I'm processing. I don't know, because I don't. I'm just processing what all that means for me. And most of the time, I don't have time to feel that. I have to, it's crazy, man, to sometimes, even as an adult, I'm like, man, I want to call someone and be like, what do I do?
Yeah.
You know?
And you just feel like you don't have that.
Well, yeah, I don't, right? I don't have that. And here's the thing, like, for those out there that may not have that either, like, God is so good, and he will father you. And there's a lot of it, like, you know, his word gives us a lot of guidance, and prayer's real. And, man, I've almost tangibly felt God's hands around me before, like his arms, so I know. But it's okay to grieve that you don't have that person. That's why I love people's stories, you know. There's a guy, I don't know if he'll probably listen to this. He knows who he is, that real close to us. I'm not going to say his name, and he doesn't, you know, he doesn't have anyone either. He's married, and it's just easy to be proud of you guys, you know, for the stuff you go through. But I guess if I were to put this in a sentence, it's crazy those moments when you have clarity to go, man, I'm not like, even the word broken is kind of wrong, but it's weird to it's almost like I'm at this place in this journey, right? And I look back and I see and I grieve what I lost to get where I'm at, even though I wouldn't trade where I'm at. That makes sense?
It's kind of like what I envision in my head is like, it's almost like, say, because you were broken at one point, right? You were broken, and God's taking these pieces of you, and he's building you back up. And it's like, as he's building you back up, you can take a look back, and you see the glue that's holding you together, and that's tough, kind of. Like, that's kind of how I envision it.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's scars maybe or more.
Exactly.
You know, and then there's this part of me that sad, dude. I don't know. Like, have you ever seen the Will Smith clip? It's pretty famous about his dad. Not like, and this isn't about my dad necessarily. But he's like, I didn't need him anyway. I didn't need him when I did this. I didn't need him when I did that. Have you heard that? Have you seen this clip? It's pretty famous.
I
Have you seen it?
Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah, Prince of Bel-Air. Back.
Yeah, it's super powerful.
Yeah, man, I feel like that sometimes because then there's this prideful side of me. He's like, I didn't need it anyway. I don't need that, you know. Then it becomes fleshly instead of relying on God. But that's just to cover stuff. So, and again, it's so weird, dude. You know more about my life. It's really hard to share some of these things without feeling like I'm speaking poorly of my family, which is not my intention.
I get it, dude.
Right? That's not my intention.
Yeah, I get it, man.
But life is what it is, man. Like sometimes, like I'm sure there's people out there listening that feel guilty talking about things because you love your family.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't make that stuff any less hard, and it doesn't mean you're trashing him to process that. So
100% agree with you, dude. You're right.
And I just, yeah, man. So that's kind of where I'm at. I was probably so rambling. So where am I at with that? I don't really know. I'm very thankful. I had this picture one time when I was praying of all these things in my life, these flashes. You guys know, like I was homeless for a while. Like you know all the stories,
Yeah, it's
right?
crazy, man.
And like I was like God was saying to me, and I was there, and I was there, and I was there. You know, even when you didn't know me, I was there.
That's right.
It doesn't mean, like, sometimes we get in this mindset and where people get mad at God because they think that he made that stuff happen. Like, why did you let that happen? And I kind of look at it a different way, man. Is like, how much worse would it have been if he wasn't there?
Man, you already know.
Yeah. So this is just such a weird episode because I don't know why I'm being emotional right now. But I think I'm recognizing that Christianity becomes really real in those moments. Because it is not as easy and clean cut as it looks, man.
It's not.
You're right. And that's why I get so passionate about people who like want to create this version of Christianity where we're perfected already. We don't mess up. We don't have sins. We don't have brokenness. And that's so dumb.
Yeah, it's so far from the truth.
Right. And it doesn't enable us to truly grow and heal from these things because we're not allowed to feel it. Mm-hmm. We're not allowed to say, like, there are good people out there that do bad things and have addictions and problems and stuff, right? That really do want to overcome it. And so we don't give room for that.
Yeah. Right?
It's like, what do you mean? You know Jesus, it's over, you're fixed. I'm like, man, that's not what I see scripturally. Mm. You know, Peter, Paul, you know, even afterwards when Paul was writing the books of the Bible, man, like he still wasn't perfect. Mm-hmm. If he was, why was he insecure? Why did he always have to say, I'm not lying and I know I'm the worst of these? And you know what I mean? Yes. Is this making sense? I'm probably rambling.
No, man, I'm with you, dude. I think the reason why it's so emotional, man, is because like it's real talk. Like we're having it, you know, and like, you know, I think, you know, whenever you bring up your upbringing and all that stuff, man, like it's nothing to be ashamed about, and it's nothing to feel like, you know, just to encourage you. Like it's not wrong to bring that stuff up, dude. Like you're not trashing your family, like. You're not. Like, at the end of the day, it's just a part of reality of what your life was. And, like, you know, and you mentioned, like, how, you know, the way you grew up compared to others. Like, yeah, man, there's pros and cons to every single aspect of a life. And, like, yours, listen, like you said, God, I think he used that to harden you up for where you're at now, like you said. And I think it's a beautiful thing. But, like you said, it's okay to grieve the fact that that's how it was. Because that's just part of one of your cons in life. If that's what happened, he used that. But it's okay to grieve the other side of what could have been. You know, there's nothing wrong with that, you know. And I think, I don't know, maybe like if you ever feel guilty for thinking that, like you're not allowed to feel that, but like that's not true. Like you are. Like you can feel that. You can grieve that. Because that's one thing that I think you and I do relate on, because I think about that stuff when I actually let myself, like
that's the key, is I don't a lot, and I think you don't either.
No, yeah. Because like, dude, like life would have been so different other ways. Even now, like who do you call, right? Like,
yeah, some of you out there probably don't appreciate what you have when you have parent or believers and relatives. And
absolutely,
I think we both can say this.
Yeah, man.
You know, you try your best. But yeah, wouldn't trade it. But golly, it's a blessing.
It is, man. I agree.
To have family out there. If you're one of those people, no family's perfect, but you've got a situation where you have people who are believers and who that you can go to, you know, and that. But then that continues, right? Because you and I have it better than a lot of people do.
Absolutely.
And you know, I wouldn't trade. I love my family a lot. But
Same.
And here's the other side of it with that is I grieve too because some of my family doesn't know Jesus. And if they're listening, they're going to probably take that as I'm arrogant. That's what they always tell me, right? You're arrogant, and it's not. It's because I see the way that they've lived out. Okay, I know the struggles I've had with my brokenness, and I am saved and sanctified and changed. Amen. And I look at them, and I see the cycles that they're in because they are scrambling to deal with the same wounds
over and over.
But they don't have the equipment, right? The truth
Holy Spirit.
Of how to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm telling you, know, you can't find that healing and that fulfillment in that kind in some of the kinds of things that certain people and friends and family of mine pursue. Mm-hmm. And I love them so much. And to sit on the outside, you know, and say, using the knife analogy, like, yeah, I still have this gaping, this wound that's healing. I had the knife taken out, and you still have it in there, and you pretend it's not there.
That's right.
And you lash out at everyone, and I don't know. So the whole point of this wasn't to whine, guys, but also, kind of like you said, when I do that, it makes me more aware of the ways that I kind of, you know, it hinders my relationships, my you know, friendships sometimes, and all that kind of stuff. So. And I don't know, I'm just grieving a little bit, which sounds, again, so friggin' weak.
It's not weak, man. You know that. You know, in your heart, you know that. It's not weak.
Yeah.
And honestly, man, it's so sobering, too, like, you bringing all that up. Like, because it's funny because it probably seems so small, but one of the most eye-opening stories that you've told on the show is Dan Bilzerian. Literally, I went, because that guy, he's a perfect example of, he's in his own cycle of I'll just buy pleasure because that's all. That's his all own
words, right? Yep. I've given up on happiness, so I'm just focused on getting pleasure.
That's right. And for those of you who don't believe, if you're listening or if you're not, and you're just looking on the outside, like when you look at the world in itself, like that's everybody. They're in their own cycles of hurt that they're not going to get over, so they just run from one thing to the next, trying to find just a glimpse of happiness because. That's all they can get out of it. That's all they can. It's like they're trying to buy happiness over and over again. It's right. It's a high. It's a perfect example. Yep. It's a drug. Happiness is a drug. They're constantly going to chase because the Holy Spirit. It's like Jesus, man. Jesus is a genius.
Yeah.
Talks about the well with the water, the living water. That's literally what he's talking about.
You'll be thirsty again if you try to drink from other ones. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. It's true, man.
And he says you'll never be thirsty again with the living water I provide, and it's so true.
Yeah, and that is, dude, that's a great point, and I think you're right on, and it makes sense that Jesus' words then still fit today. And I guess I want to say that for the hope of the other side of this is, I'm sitting here grieving and I get sad, but you know what? But I also have a contentment and a joy that I can't put into words because Jesus has taught me. God has fathered me.
That's right.
God has literally shown me and made me and taught me what it is to be a man, and I'm still learning. But, there's hope for you guys, for those of you out there that feel alone and feel like you don't have the support, whether it's from friends or family. There's these parts of you that feel like they'll never get fixed. That's not true. He's still in the business of healing. Sometimes it happens immediately, and sometimes he's got to, proverbially put mud on your eyes and all that stuff like he does in the healing. Sometimes it takes a while. But I think the question is the same question he asked back then he's asking now. Do you want to be healed? And if you want to be healed, then sometimes it's going to take a process, and that's not fun always.
No.
But I'll tell you this is from your life experience. The more you hold on to your false idols and your empty water, your water that doesn't fill, the harder that process is. Mm-hmm. When I look back, I think my journey was a lot harder earlier on, especially because I almost refused to let go of the things that brought me those glimmers of happiness.
That's right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep. Well,
and so it hurts more because God's got to rip it out.
And what's funny is I can almost feel empathy for those people because I remember.
Me too. I do feel empathy.
And I literally, because the reason why you cannot get yourself to let it go is because you think if you let it go, you're never going to have it again.
Or having any form
That's
of
right.
happiness.
It's over. That's it. It's all gone. And that's why life can feel so hopeless. And why do you think a guy like Robin Williams kills himself? Because whatever glimpse of happiness, he thought it ran out and it was over and it's done. Now what? Nothing. That's why
your
he
identity.
died.
Or professional athletes commit suicide. Your idol,
Football,
your thing of your source
That
of
glimpse.
water.
Yep, that glimpse.
One of the most sobering moments.
It's gone.
I was at our youth group because I volunteer there, and we were watching an I Am Second video, and there was a long snapper for the Seahawks, and he said, "We won the Super Bowl." We were all in the locker room, and we were all waiting for it to sink in. You see, what that really means is we were all waiting for it to make us feel how we thought it would make us feel, how we thought it would make us feel content, how it would make us feel like we finally arrived, but it didn't. And I was like, dude, that's one of the most, that's insane to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's insane to hear. You've dedicated
get
your
that.
whole life to football, and you get to that moment. That's the upper echelon.
That's the epitome right there. Yeah.
And you're, this means nothing.
Beyond those brief moments, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Celebration. And that doesn't mean those things are bad, right? Winning the Super Bowl is not bad, but I think that's a great example, Clint,
Absolutely.
because that is the epitome of that well. I've
Yep.
drank the last drop of that water.
Yep.
And it was really good. Now what?
It reminds me of I have a similar one I saw one time on Facebook. I was scrolling through, and it was the valedictorian of like a really high end college. I mean, they they went to go give their speech, and like they called the name and everything, and they went up there and they said, "I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been waiting 4 years or however, I can't remember how many years for this moment for them to announce my name, and now it's over." And like it was actually a really cool speech because they talked about that exact thing. I've done everything for this moment, and here I am. And honestly, the feeling, it's gone. It was there, and now it's gone. And now what? You know. And honestly, that's why I love your mind too, because you also ask that in so many different life situations. Now what? Because it's so true. Even like Clint used an example of the long snapper for the Seahawks. Like it's true. Like you've reached that moment. You were there. You thought we're this mountain that you've been climbing for years. You get to the top of it. Now what? And I think that's why God is so important, because God,
He is the now what, always.
yes.
Yeah.
And so for people who don't have that, you're right. What do? The junior stay-outs, all these people, all these athletes, all these musicians, comedians, whatever it is, people who are the Dan Bilzerians of the world, who've reached a place where they think, I've always wanted this. Here I am. Now what? Nothing.
And it happens in Christianity. The time that I use that phrase the most is in premarital counseling.
That's right.
I'll sit down with a couple, and I still remember a couple, and they'll, if they're listening, they'll probably remember this. And I said, okay, guys, now what?
Yep.
Like, what do you mean? And some couples get it, and some couples don't. And the ones that don't are the ones that get just the most deflated, because even in Christianity, you're kind of like, okay, I've done my next Christian step, right? I found that believing husband or wife. I've gotten married. Great, we got a house. Now what?
Yep.
And then sometimes, not a lot of times, they'll come back and go, well, I'm unhappy. And you think the marriage is why you're unhappy, and that's not the truth. The reason you're unhappy is you had pinned all of your hopes, your dreams, that feeling on that marriage,
On
and you
this one
realize
thing.
it's gone. And like
Yep.
life is more than that. You know, when the cake's eaten, the dress is off, the party's over, everyone kind of because you're kind of the center of the focus, right? You're center of the world when you get married.
It's that glimmer. It's that glimpse of a high, man.
And
There
it's
it is.
gone. And so what do we do then? Well, the Bible tells us that, there is fulfillment. You die to self. Stop making life about everything you want, and find joy and contentment in worshiping God and serving and loving other people. And when you do that, there is a different kind of fulfillment, right? And there's a different kind of thing. And I think that's also why I could go deep and deeper, man, where God challenges us. And even within Christianity, there's these many idols. So a lot of times it's marriage and it's family. I don't know how many times. Well, you're asking me. A lot of people out there go family, God, whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, they'll go family, work, God, and they think that that's an okay order, because in Christianity, if you're successful, then you're doing it right. Successful being, I've got 3.5 kids, big house, nice car. I'm on the PTO, whatever. I'm in the Kiwanis Club. Well, you're still finding your worth in those things, and then it's like, now what?
Yep.
Right? Well, I'm going to find a different wife, a different job, a different family, a different husband. Well, it's still there. And God is like,
It never goes away.
and God's even says, well, they said, Jesus is always challenging that. When they came and said, hey, your family's here, they want you to stop. And he goes, this is my family. Right? He's trying to get us to, and he's pointing to the people he's serving. And it's like, man, it's a weird call, guys. And if you're not a Christian out there listening, you're probably going, well, this sounds crazy because they're just saying life sucks and there's no hope. And that's not what we're saying.
Mm-hmm.
What we're saying is life can never be about the thing. And the thing could be whatever it is for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's right.
Yeah,
That's so
and
so deep, man.
And so this is what I always say to people. And you kind of said it earlier. I was going to ask about yours because your story you shared earlier sort of made me think about this. You know what I would, because you said something about those that don't believe out there listening. This is what I would tell you. This is what I say all the time. If you're a non-Christian, you're listening. I don't mean this snotty. I'm just a guy. You don't know me. Maybe you'll never come back to this. But I want to ask you one question. You're like, I'm complete. How has it worked out so far living life for yourself?
Yep.
What's it like when the lights go off? You're laying in bed. It's midnight. Everyone's asleep, and you're looking at the ceiling, and you've got everything you thought you wanted. Are you content? Because I'd be willing to bet a whole lot of money that I don't have that you're not.
Nope.
Because you know deep down there's more to life than this. And that more that you're looking for is what Jesus fulfills.
Amen.
Right? It's that thing we were created for. So, I don't know, weird episode today.
Great episode.
We're venting. How long have we gone here? How long has this been?
Did you say we're venti?
Venting?
No, we're venti.
We're a Starbucks drink.
Uh,
No free ads, according to production guys.
hashtag.
53. We should probably at least answer a couple questions here real quick.
Okay.
Question one, we'll just do one each.
Okay.
I have here, for someone who claims to be a believer, if they think that swear words are funny through stand-up comedy or in movies, etc., do you think that they're spiritually mature?
I think it depends on how it affects their life. So for example, once again, this is real talk. Will use myself as an example. There are times where if somebody cusses in a video and it's funny, and I think it's funny, it depends on how they use it in the context of whatever it is. Do I think now? Am I going to sit here and use that word to my own, for my own life? No, because that's not who I am anymore. Used to be terrible. Oh gosh, I used to cuss all the time. It was really bad. But that's not who I am anymore. Now, do I still find humor in that? Yes. Do I think that makes me immature? No. Now, I think that this is one of those kind of questions where you have to be honest with yourself, though. I think you have to be willing to look and go, by me watching this stuff that's constantly cussing and it has all this culture that I know isn't good, and I find it funny, and this is how I spend a lot of my time. I think you got to take a look at that. Is that making you stumble in your walk? And if you're really honest with yourself, if it is, you need to stop. You need to turn your attention to something else.
All right, playing devil's advocate in this case, or whoever this person is, because I'm not saying I disagree with you, because I think I know what you're saying, but I'm gonna question as him. Okay, so you think it's funny to talk that way, but we're not supposed to. So I can use it in the ways that you think are funny.
Depends on the context. I
can use "f you" as long as it's in a funny way.
If you're a Christian, no.
Okay, but you just said that it's okay to laugh at it and think it's funny then.
As long as it doesn't cause me to stumble in my walk with Jesus.
Okay, but why shouldn't I do it then? If you say it's funny, but I shouldn't do it, I guess that those two don't compute.
Because there's a difference between the standard of Christianity than there is to people who are not Christians. The rest of the world.
But does that give a different message?
I think it depends.
Yeah. So I'm messing with you a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm trying to put myself in their mindset. I will say this. I think let's separate the questions. Do you, because I know what your point is. Your point is just because you might see a movie where a guy cusses and you think that seems funny, that doesn't mean you're not spiritually mature.
Right.
I think but do you, as an AJ, seek out those kinds of shows? Do you actually go, I'm going to watch this comedian who I know talks dirty and laughs, and do you seek that out? Do you, AJ?
I don't think I do as much as I used to. I think there's parts of me that still think that stuff's funny sometimes.
That's not what I mean by seeking it out. I know, whether you find it's funny. I'm saying, do you go in and type in these comedians and watch them?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No.
Do you intentionally go? No, you don't, right? Because why don't you? I guess that's why don't you?
I think the reason why I don't is because I have changed. I am different in that aspect.
Yeah. So I kind of agree with your premise. I think I think it does depend. And I think, do I think that if you're a person who seeks out those kinds of things, watches those kinds of things, looks for them, like for instance me, I can't even listen to some of those anymore. I love rap. Everybody knows that.
Right.
There's certain rap music I can't even listen to anymore because it like at this point it like pricks me. Like
That's right.
I mean, like
You're
I
actually
hear
hearing
it.
what they're saying.
Yeah, and I can't do it anymore. But that doesn't mean if I'm listening to a rap song and there, like, for instance, there is one out right now. Okay,
I already know which one you're talking about.
there's a rap song right now. Literally, he cusses one time. There's no point in it. I don't know why he does. But
Yeah.
I love the beat. I love the song. And
Catchy.
actually, the message in the rest of the song, it's kind of about depression, is pretty deep. It doesn't mean I'm spiritually mature because I've heard this song and I think it's a good song and I've listened to it when there's, like, that one doesn't bother me. But there's other stuff where they don't use cuss words, but they're talking about things that are so, like, gross that or sexual that I can't watch. Now, if I'm going out there looking for that stuff, I think that's sort of a sign of at least how serious I take my faith.
That's fair.
So I think to answer this question is kind of complicated because you're tying someone's spiritual maturity to whether or not in a moment they find something funny. Come on, right? That's silly. That's almost like, well, I can't be friends with this guy because he cusses maybe. So in that case, I think it doesn't necessarily mean. But I do think if you're filling your life with that and there's been no change and you're going out and listening to that and watching that, then yeah, it kind of shows your level of maturity.
I like
Does that make sense?
I'm
Because
with you.
I know what you were saying, but I'm
Yes.
also I'm thinking as this person,
Yep.
and you know what I mean. So definitely,
That's
we
good.
know that what you put in affects you. Right?
Absolutely.
What you consume, but that doesn't mean
Yes, I like that you separate it. There's a difference between like seeking it and like
hey, that's funny in the moment. Or,
Yes.
yeah, because you're still human.
absolutely right. Yes.
All right, cool. What do you got?
Oh
You can
boy.
read that one. You want me
All
to read
right.
it?
No, I can do this. I believe in myself.
Okay.
All right. Next question.
Is this the Melchizedek one?
No.
You should probably go with that one.
Okay.
Well, actually, I guess it doesn't matter. Yeah, they're only going to be reading a long verse, though, man.
That's fair. All right, we'll go with this one then. All right, last question of the day. This question might require research, so I understand if it can't be answered right away. I was reading in Hebrews chapter 7, and I started researching Melchizedek. Melchizedek. And what the order of Melchizedek was, and came across some articles that said there was speculation that Jesus and Melchizedek are the same person. Did Jesus show up in the Old Testament as other people?
Yes, Jesus did show up in the Old Testament as other people, and it's called like a pre-incarnate, or at least there's an implication of it. It's really cool. So, for instance,
Freaking
in the
wild.
fire,
That's right.
with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, was that Christ? Was it Christ who wrestled? Oh my good gosh,
Is it
Isaac? Yeah.
Yep.
Goodness gracious, I couldn't even think for a minute. Is that who wrestled him? And in this case, it could be. So Melchizedek's pretty interesting because this guy shows up to Abraham after Abraham wins this battle, and he gives him this bread as a reward and wine, and he says he does it in the name of the God Most High, right? Meaning God.
Yeah.
So what we get this sense from the way Abraham responds to him that Abraham viewed him as like a higher spiritual authority than him, so a high priest. The thing is, this guy just kind of pops out of nowhere. We don't know him, and then so he's mentioned in Genesis clearly. It's mentioned in one of the Psalms, and then it's mentioned in Hebrews in the New Testament. And one of those also mentions that he had no earthly father and mother. So you're like, what the heck? Like, well, who was this guy? And it also says Jesus is like the new Melchizedek. They kind of call it, paraphrasing, in the order of Melchizedek. So here's the thing. Was it meaning in Hebrews literally that he had no father or mother, or like in those verses that he had no father and mother? If that's the case, then clearly it can only be talking about Christ, and it was Jesus who showed up, and he interacted with Jesus right off the bat.
That's freaking nuts.
Because Melchizedek actually means like king of salvation or king of righteousness or something
Really?
like that when it's translated.
What?
Something like that. So ruler of whatever. So it could be. Maybe he showed up. It could also be, was it saying symbolically that Jesus trumps this greatest priest that you knew, this guy, Jesus is better than him in Hebrews. And maybe that, because, in Hebrews, they're trying to appeal to the Jewish people all the way and say, hey, he's always been here. So either way, it certainly could be. But yes, there seems to be indication that Jesus showed up at times in the Old Testament, which is so cool.
Oh, it's insane.
And interacted with people. And that's in the wording. Sometimes when we assume it was an angel, was it Jesus? I don't know. Pretty cool though.
That was about to be my next question. Was like, could it have been an angel? I don't
Yeah,
know.
but sometimes that's what's cool about this. You know me in word studies. I don't think they're. But one of the cool things is when it says like an angel of the Lord versus like, can't can't remember, something of the Lord, right? Those words are different.
Exactly.
So
Which
one,
means
could it be, is he referring to something else? It's really neat.
that is awesome.
Either way, we know this much, that the point is that Jesus is the true mediator, the best high priest, the true one that goes before God for us, the ultimate high priest, so that we no longer have to have those, intermediaries. So pretty cool
question.
Yeah, great question. Hope that answers your question. It's cool to think about. So we don't have clear indication in either way. It could be. So
That's
either
wild.
way, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about.
All right, man. Well, hey, show went a different way than we anticipated because we had some other questions. We'll answer those, I guess, on
Thursday.
Join us live, 8 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube. If you've been watching us on YouTube, we're going to do a better job of letting you interact with us on those and brainstorming, because we don't interact with them, and we need to, because there are people that watch on YouTube.
That's right.
So we're going to figure that out, guys. But yeah, come join us 8:30 p.m. Eastern time this Thursday.
EST.
You got anything to say, man?
Just thank you guys so much for watching. Again, like we said in the beginning of this episode, I'll remind you again. What do you guys think of Real Talk? We want that feedback. What we want to do moving forward or whatnot. So please leave a comment below, or go to the link www.theremnant.life/real-talk and let us know. And also, if you're here at this point in the video, would you please like or subscribe, whether that's YouTube or Facebook or whatever, watch on Rumble. Give us a Rumble, follow us, whatever. I think you follow on Rumble. I don't remember.
Yeah, give them a Rumble.
But yeah, that's about all I got, guys. Just appreciate you guys. Without you guys, this wouldn't be possible. So love you.
Yeah, hey, I don't have much to say. We love you guys. God loves you. If you're out there watching, you don't know Jesus, take this moment. This is not a coincidence that you listen to this today, that God is speaking to you, that God loves you. Doesn't matter your past or even your present, that your future can be different and secure. It's real. Both of us are two guys that we have no reason to tell, that weren't raised Christian. Jesus just, saved us. And I know that you've been probably told by culture, Jesus, that's so corny and all. It's real, man. It's real. God is real. And Jesus is the ultimate expression of God's love for us. So you need to check that out. You can start reading in the Gospel of John, or if you want to know what the gospel is, you can message us, and we'll get a hold of you somehow, and we'll tell you all about him, what he's done for our lives. Other than that, hey, we mentioned earlier, AJ said it, we really do need your input. If we don't get it, that's okay. We're giving you the opportunity to be a part of this, but if not, we're going to make those decisions ourselves.
That's right.
And what we need to do. Please continue to pray for us, support, like, share, engage. That means talk to us, interact with us. Those that do every week, thank you so much. We do see it.
We love you guys.
Man, I could go on and on about so many people that are weekly, that comment, the Norman, the Sierras, the Jasons,
Regina.
The Reginas, the Mandys, the Ambers, I could think there's bunches. Trent has at times,
yes.
Greg, all of you that have interacted and given us encouragement. Brandon, we love you guys so much. If you consider giving, especially if you don't go to this church and you're listening from somewhere else, you can do that right now. Even $5 means a lot. It's completely tax deductible. www.theremnant.life/give.
Boom.
Drop down box to Real Talk. That's it. Hope you guys have a great day. God bless you.